And its founder, Harvey Levin, have been reporting the story closely, regularly breaking news on the kidnapping. I just spoke to the man himself, executive producer of TMZ, Harvey Levin. Harvey, thank you so much for being here. Tell me the very latest.
Well, there is a second note that was sent, and the way it's being reported, it has many of the markings of the first note. The first note we received as well, and it's the same note that the local station got. So the second note does not include any kind of ransom demand, according to KOLD, the station that got it. It has sensitive information in there. So, Michael, look, I'm going to speculate at this point, but you know, the note we got said, we're not getting in touch with anybody anymore. Here's the demand. That's it. But the family came out and said, we need proof of life. So I would think that in this letter, maybe it includes something that tells the family that this person who wrote the letter has Nancy Guthrie. That could be something that no one would know except the family. You know, it could be something as simple as, you know, what's the last birthday present Nancy gave Savannah? It could be something involving her medical condition, because that seems highly relevant right now, you know, given the fact that she had high blood pressure, she has a pacemaker, and that she needs her medication. So it could be something like this. The reporter from KOLD suggested there was something in there that was somewhat alarming, and it could have to do with her medical condition. I don't know. But they are clearly trying to show, yeah, we are the people who have it. We are the real deal. And I don't think it's much of a coincidence that they rushed out to the house and did a search shortly after receiving that second letter.
Harvey, I've been watching you all week, and I think you're doing a hell of a job covering this, but there's so much that doesn't make sense to me, not the least of which is, and maybe I watch too much television or have seen too many movies, why go through media outlets? Why go through TMZ? Why not go directly to the family? Surely you've thought about that.
I have, and you know, sometimes you go to the family and it says, you know, the police aren't going to be able to help you. This person wanted this information. They knew we would transmit this to the police, and they knew KOLD would do the same thing. So, you know, sometimes it's almost like a cat and mouse game. But whoever, look, Michael, whoever did this is really sophisticated. It is almost impossible to trace, you know, where it came from. The Bitcoin address is real. This is a sophisticated person who wrote this letter, and it's somebody who's intelligent. This letter is constructed well. The one we received, it's layered. It is grammatically all correct. And, you know, I think this is a sophisticated, intelligent person who wrote this. I also think that this person is in the Tucson area, because, you know, we actually looked at this. The first letter we got says that if you pay us the money, we will get you Nancy back to Tucson within a certain period of time. And if you look at that period of time and say they're going to drive 12 miles, 60 miles an hour, and it's going to take them all that time to get there, there'd be a 700-mile radius. I think it's a lot smaller than that. Why did they send two notes to KOLD? They have some connection to KOLD. It is the community television station of Tucson, and this person seems to have a connection to that station. So it feels like a local person. The other thing it feels like to me is, it seems odd to me that somebody would be watching television one day and say, oh wow, there's Savannah Guthrie, she's rich and famous, let's find a relative. Seems more likely that somebody would know in the Tucson area, hey, that's Nancy Guthrie, her daughter's really famous, and she's also rich. And it seems more likely it would be hatched from there. So one of the things I was thinking about this morning is I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the police are looking for a really intelligent person who is tech savvy, who has just gone missing or MIA for the last 6 days, and ask people within that range, you seen anybody like that? Because it's just feeling like it's a person like that, somebody who's smart, somebody who's tech savvy. It seems there's a connection to Tucson. So I don't know that that's the course they're going, but that just makes sense to me.
So Harvey Levin has read the note. I have not. I respect the fact that you're walking a fine line and you don't want to be too revelatory about it. I kind of have to yield to you when you say this is a sophisticated person, but here's something else I've been wondering from a distance. I get the Lindbergh baby. I get William Randolph Hearst's, granddaughter. I get Sinatra Jr. I don't get, and I don't mean any disrespect in raising this, I don't get Savannah Guthrie's mom. Like, who comes up with that as a caper?
But that's what I'm saying, that if it were just, I'm going to television and looking for a famous person, and I'll pick Savannah Guthrie, that makes no sense to me either. What I'm saying to you is, what if this person, who I think has a connection to Tucson, just happens to know, look, in a way, Nancy Guthrie, in Tucson, Nancy Guthrie, she has a really famous daughter. So it may be that somebody either knows Nancy Guthrie or knows of Nancy Guthrie. Oh, that woman lives in a nice house and her daughter is really famous. And so what I'm saying is it would be hatched not because, oh, I'm looking at Savannah Guthrie on TV. It would be hatched because somebody is saying, oh, I know Nancy Guthrie lives there. I know Nancy Guthrie's daughter is really famous. I know Nancy Guthrie's daughter has been on TV a long time and she's probably rich. Nancy Guthrie lives in a really nice house. That would be interesting. And that's the way it seems to me, the only thing that makes sense about the abduction.
Final question for Harvey Levin. It sounds to me like you're convinced the note you received is totally legit.
Look, I don't know that, but what I will say, Michael, is there are two items mentioned in the note, a white smartwatch, and people knew she had a smartwatch, but it was where it was placed that I don't think anybody knew. And the authorities were really interested in that because they called me, the FBI called me a couple hours after we sent it to the sheriff. Second thing is, they didn't just say like a damaged floodlight, they said a destroyed floodlight. That word destroyed is really interesting to me because you just happen to see a broken light. You'd say it was a broken light, maybe a damaged light. But when you say destroyed, that seems to be an act they're talking about. So again, maybe I'm overreading this, but when somebody says a destroyed light, it may be they destroyed it because maybe it was illuminated and they don't want to be seen. So I just think the word destroyed, and by the way, nothing was out that there was a damaged or destroyed light at the time we got the letter. So those two things were markers, and based on what the KOLD reporter said yesterday, it sounds like they mentioned something else that would show that they were familiar with Nancy's house. So do I know that it's a legitimate ransom letter? No. Are there markers that suggest it might be? I think the answer is yes. And I think pretty clearly at this point, the authorities are taking it seriously.
Final question, and this time I mean it. Is the deadline Monday one of harm will come to her if you don't do X?
The only thing I'm going to say is it is profoundly consequential.
Okay. Harvey, thank you.
And here now is Paul Moore, retired NYPD inspector, Fox News contributor. Paul, I want to play the video released by the Guthrie family again for those who may have missed it. Let's watch.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us. And we will pay.
What is your reaction to that latest video?
Yeah, look, I'm just seeing it like everybody else. Just read it. So let's look at it very closely, the way Ted Williams did. I think where it gets most troubling is when you go near the end. So let me just tease it out similar to the way Ted just did. We received your message and we understand. That feels to me like there's something new. And one of the things we've all been talking about is, have they established a protocol to speak to each other? This sounds like they got something that is different from the note, the second note, that none of us were really sure was the same people originating in the same place as the first note that the authorities were taking seriously. Now, one of the points I've been making is that if the second note were from the same people, I think they would have included, once again, the crypto wallet. It's not definite, but that would have very much been a proof that it was the same people, because that's a long, unguessable number. And first of all, it goes to the fact that they want to be paid. So I would think it would have been in the second note, not definitive, but perhaps. This feels to me like it's something new. And therefore, I have to think that they did establish some way to talk to each other, one way or the other. That could be good news for the investigation, because you have something else to work on. Let's go on real quick. We beg you to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. Celebrate what? That feels to me like a euphemism, right? Celebrate her life, something like that. Also, return our mother to us. Let's look at not so much what's being said as what's not being said. If this note had said something like, okay, we're glad we've had a meeting of the minds, let's set up the exchange. Would it not have very, very different verbiage? Would it not have said something like, thank you for getting in touch with us, we're ready to move forward, waiting further instructions, things like that. In fact, I would argue there would be nothing public, right? Further, if there were a good protocol to talk to each other, she wouldn't be making a video.
Yeah. Exactly.
So she's sending this out for them to hear this, right? And let me just close the loop. This is the only way we can have peace. To me, that is the most troubling line. Peace, not we can't wait to see her, this is great kind of thing. Peace, when do you talk about peace? You talk about peace when you're talking about closure, right? And then finally, this is very valuable to us. Well, of course your mother is valuable to you if she's alive. That, by negative inference, to say she's valuable, to have to say something is valuable, that tells me that it's something you might not normally think has value, and that goes to the idea that we want her. I'm just going to be frank here, man.
Yeah.
You're asking me, I'm telling you. Her body.
Yeah. No,
Right?
and I think a part of that was
so-
the next line. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, the fact that they're saying, and will pay.
Exactly.
Well, will pay has been there all along.
Exactly.
And the fact that they'll say, so what are you doing now? You're saying, we're going to pay for something that maybe had less value than it had yesterday.
Yeah.
So just as an investigator, I'm telling you, piecing this thing apart, I hope I'm wrong. You know, I think that's clear. But I don't think it's a positive sign.
Paul, I just got one question for you. You alluded to this, that they're communicating back to whoever has her mother with an Instagram post as opposed to through some sort of channel that's established. I would imagine they're speaking with law enforcement and coordinating this with them. Would you say the same thing, basically, that law enforcement supports them putting this video out there this way?
100%. We all know that when they did the first initial response, that we saw law enforcement going in with a ring light. And in fact, you know, when I got that report, I was asked, what do you think? And my first blush was, okay, they're going in with a camera and lighting. Maybe they're going to film a search warrant here so that if they get some incriminating evidence or something, they can demonstrate how they got it. You do things like that. You film locations. But when I heard a ring light, well, we all know what a ring light is, right? That's what people use to make selfies, and, you know, they put the videos on TikTok and all of that. So when I heard that, I began to think, all right, social media, and that was, in fact, the FBI going there, and they did confirm that they were there when that first video was made. I don't know about the second one that Cameron made after the first deadline passed, but certainly the first one, they were there. And at the press conference, they pretty much confirmed that. So let me go yes on that, Joey.
And Paul, I guess we'll also remember here that the next deadline that was previously established was to come on Monday at some point. I don't believe that there was a time period. But of course, today is Saturday, 1 week set that Nancy Guthrie has been missing. So 2 days out from that next deadline, does that help you understand? You walked through the possible interpretations of this last message. Does that add, any, to me, I feel like maybe that's some more optimism. It's before the last deadline that they're still communicating and offering, trying to set up some type of indication that they're willing to pay.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so, certainly. And I could be wrong. It's just so cryptically worded. And you're not going to, if it looked like, okay, we got a message, we've had a proof of life, you're not going to be cryptic. Mm-hmm. It's going to be real direct. The only thing that she really says that is really sort of straightforward is we will pay. But that's been there all along, I would argue. So, I hope I'm not taking the wrong messages away from that, because we all hope that she's alive. But this feels to me like they got some new piece of information where almost as if they said something like this, an accident occurred. This didn't go the way we expected. Yeah. We know she had a heart condition, right? Mm-hmm. Something like that. And like you say, we're before the deadline. So would they not be saying things like, before the deadline occurs? And I've heard disparate reporting on the deadline. My understanding is that the best sourcing from the authorities was that it was going to be 5 o'clock again on Monday, Arizona time. And that might be an inference, the Arizona time piece. But because we're before the deadline, it would have felt to me more like a negotiation than it does.
Wow. All right, Paul, thank you so much. Please stick around. We always appreciate your insight.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
Developing news overnight in the search for Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy. The family posting a new video overnight with a plea for her safe return.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
It is just such a heartbreaking video, and we have new details here. They're also emerging about the investigation. Former FBI agent Brad Garrett will join us in a moment here, but first, ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky is live in Tucson for us. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning, Gio. That new anguished message from Savannah Guthrie is difficult to watch. It is short and pointed. The family promises to pay to get their mother back.
This morning, 1 week after police say Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her home in the dark of night, her children are grasping for some way to get their mother returned. Savannah and her siblings clutching hands in that Instagram post that begs, bring her home.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Law enforcement sources told ABC News the message is the same one received Friday by a Tucson television station. The FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department said they had been analyzing it, but the sources said they have not determined its authenticity. An earlier, also unverified message included a deadline of tomorrow.
While we advise and recommend from a law enforcement perspective, any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family.
Savannah's gut-wrenching plea came at the end of the day with no new investigative leads. Hours later, officers seen leaving her sister Annie's home, but still there are no suspects, no video, and no proof the 84-year-old in fragile health is alive. It has been a week since she failed to show up at church and her family reported her missing. Nancy Guthrie, who appeared with Savannah from time to time on the Today Show, now appears on billboards in Phoenix, El Paso, San Antonio, and Houston. Investigators returned to her home, inspecting cameras on the roof and towing a car. The FBI went door to door in her quiet desert neighborhood, hoping someone may have noticed something in the wee hours of last Sunday morning. That's when police said in a 45-minute period, a doorbell camera was disconnected, a possible intruder was detected inside, and Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her phone. The sheriff told us he has to believe she will be found.
Why would I operate from any other position than my team is operating from the same position? She's out there. We're going to find her. We have to operate from that position.
You have to have hope.
Absolutely.
The frantic search is drawing worldwide attention, but for Savannah Guthrie and her family, this is a deeply personal horror of sadness and frustration. Guys, the police were tracking a possible vehicle of interest at a nearby convenience store that may have been spotted during that 45-minute window when police believe Nancy Guthrie was taken. But Janae, there are no new leads this morning.
You said the horror, the anguish for this family as this has dragged on. Thank you so much for your reporting. Now let's bring in ABC News contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett. Brad, thank you for being with us this morning. It's been a week since Nancy was taken. We have that Monday deadline, the new message overnight from the Guthrie family. What does the timing indicate? And with it going into a week, is it likely that this is about money?
I think it is about money. And I also think that the release of the short message by the Guthrie family was very strategic. My guess is they had hostage negotiators working with them as far as wording, using like celebrate instead of surrender, or taking away from it like she's being held, which obviously she is if she's alive, hopefully. But it also tells the bad guys that we are serious about this, and maybe most importantly for the bad guys, that we're going to pay. And so we'll see. I think it sort of ratchets up what may happen on Monday one way or the other.
And as Aaron reported, Brad, we saw that this was a really pointed message there. Savannah Guthrie addressed the suspected kidnapper or kidnappers directly in that social media video. So what does that tell you?
Well, that tells you that, first of all, that the bad guys need direct connection to Savannah, because presumably she is the one that would ultimately come up with the money if they decide to pay.
To return our mother to us.
And Brad, you mentioned the possible vehicle of interest that could have been investigated. Where could the investigation be going from here?
So I will tell you that vehicle spots and even people spots, many of them don't amount to much. Maybe this will. I think they're really just banking on that a car showed up during the time frame that Aaron talked about, and that is it related, is it not related? My guess is they would have resolved that car one way or the other by now.
Brad, as we've been saying, you are a former FBI agent. So what do you see going on right now behind the scenes of this investigation?
So here are the following keys. Can the FBI techs break down the IP address that was used to send these emails, which is in effect are ransom notes? I don't think they've gotten anywhere with cameras. They may have other leads. And one of the problems, Gio, is that you get so many pieces of information. If you can't get it into a computer where you can analyze it, you may have gotten the call 3 days ago that's related to a call today. You've got to make sure you pull all of your intelligence together. And my sense would be they do have other leads, and they're working those, whether they be in or around Tucson or maybe someplace else. I mean, let's face it, Mexico is only an hour away.
That's right. All right, Brad Garrett, thank you so much. And as we've been showing you on the screen, there's that tip line to the FBI. Please call it if you have information. It's right there on your screen. Brad, thank you again.
Contained in the email out of respect for the family, other than what you saw in Mary's social post, which actually the reporter also mentioned as well about the IP address.
But the key is we just saw that video from Cameron Guthrie last night at this exact time. The night before that, we had the video from all three of the Guthrie siblings with Savannah, Annie, and Cameron, all asking repeatedly, urgently for proof of life. And you're saying this newest email does not provide that.
This newest email is something that I believe the FBI will need to look into without any interference. And so what we did the first time that we received the note, which is immediately send it to investigators and not report on it. And when we were able to speak with the sheriff's office and they decided to put out a statement jointly with the FBI, then we were able to confirm that, yes, we did receive a second note.
When did you get that? What time was that?
That was about 11:45 this morning.
And apparently you've been saying, Mary Coleman, who was on the show last night, your anchor, your evening news anchor, said that it's from a different IP address than the first one, but it still appears to be from the same person?
Yes. So what we have done is shared the information that we have. So the notes were both sent through our news tip system. So it does not need to come from a personal email address. You fill out a form. So through what we are able to do, in our back end with our website and our technology that we have here, we're able to make sure that the FBI has as much information as we can provide about where the email came from. But it is not from, a certain email address. You just fill it out, you put your name in there, you put what your email address is, but it's not, it's not showing that it is coming from that email address. So the IP address information that we sent to them is, like I said, that it is not the same address, but it does seem to trace back to a similar cloaking software.
And it sounds the same in tone and tenor?
It's hard to tell. There's sentence structure, but it's we're also doing a lot of reporting of our own today about how with digital notes, this isn't a piece of paper with magazine letters cut out or anything. It's hard to tell, with things coming through digitally, is it assisted by AI? Is it, written by the same person? It's very difficult to tell.
And did this message have an email address on it?
Yes, our form does require that you put a name, an email address, and a birth date. And so both of the notes had that, but they were not the same as each other, the two notes.
So they were different. The name, email address, and birth dates were different on the two notes. Were they?
Right. Like I said, it's just a form, so you can just type it in. There's no way to verify that.
You can put in Roger Rabbit and
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is this commonly known that people can get messages to you this way, a way in which they don't have to reveal their name, their email address?
It's a system that we use, and we've had it on our website for years. What I'll say is that it's usually not used in this way, right? I mean, usually people do want us to be able to contact them. Hey, I have a news tip for you. Please call me at this number or email me back at this address. And then we say, oh, okay, here, would you like to talk to us about your news tip? So it's not usually an issue, but yes, that is the case, is that you can fill out the form however you'd like. In fact, some people do send in anonymous news tips, and I couldn't tell you why, but that may be one of the reasons why our system works that way, so that a person could send in an anonymous news tip. But then, like I said, it depends upon if they leave a way that we can then contact them back, and in a normal situation, they would want us to. In this situation, clearly they don't.
If you have determined that the names are fake, what are the two names that were used in the two notes?
We're not sharing those details out of respect for the investigation and the family.
Male or female?
It's not. One of them isn't even a name.
Oh, interesting.
They just filled in the space. It wasn't just a first and last name. They just put words in the space.
Just put random words. The first note from the alleged kidnappers went to two Tucson TV stations as well as TMZ. Do you know if you're the only one to get the second note?
We were the only ones to receive the first one on Monday evening. I believe TMZ and the other TV station received it the next day. As far as we know today, we are the only ones to receive this email.
So perhaps, I don't know, do you know if the other Tucson television station uses a system similar to the one you use?
I don't know that answer. Mm-mm.
Were there any other threats made against Nancy Guthrie or any other ultimatums issued in this note?
No, we are not calling this a ransom note. I'm not sure if that's why the FBI is not calling it a ransom note, but we are calling it a message. because no further demands were made.
Did the message offer any way for the Guthrie family to communicate?
No.
Did this latest message offer any proof that they are, in fact, the kidnappers and not somebody like the man appearing in court today in Los Angeles, a random sicko who decides this is a great way to try and take advantage of people's grief?
I don't know about proof that they actually have her, but like your reporter was saying, the new note does contain something that it appears that the senders seem to think will prove to investigators that at least they're the same people who sent the first note, though, like I said, it doesn't necessarily indicate that it is that it is the people who have her as opposed to a hoax.
And then finally, I know that I'm about to talk to somebody from TMZ who got the first note as well, that they had said that there was something in that message that made it seem to them that whoever is sending this is still in the Tucson area. Did you see something like that?
I would agree with that statement.
You would? Can you elaborate at all?
I cannot elaborate at all.
Okay. Jessica, I really appreciate you joining us tonight, news director from KOLD News 13. Great news station down there. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's bring...
Oh, this is going to be great. We are back, 8/12, back with the start of a very special and very personal new series. It's called Homecoming Today.
And Savannah, we're going to start with you. You took us back to your old stomping grounds.
Oh, yes, here we go. You know, I'm really excited about this. When people ask me, where are you from? I'm always proud when I say Tucson, Arizona. I grew up there, went to college there. My mom still lives there. And honestly, a part of me has really never left. So thanks to our sponsor, Visit Tucson, I got a chance to go home to show you everything from the giants of the desert to the people who raised me, and really why Tucson is unlike anywhere else in the world.
There is no place like home, especially when home is as stunning a place as Tucson, Arizona, where the sunsets paint the sky every single night, and every cactus is an old friend. Prickly pear, saguaro. This is the jumping cholla, because if you walk past it and brush it, it jumps out at you. Or, in some cases, frenemy. Ow. Still sharp. But Tucson is more than its breathtaking landscape. It's a vibrant community and canvas. Hi, Joe. I'm Savannah Guthrie. Nice to meet you. This is beautiful. Thanks. Joe Pagic has transformed Tucson one wall at a time, turning bland buildings into colorful celebrations of desert life and culture.
Just gonna do a little arc like that.
Okay. I'm leaving my mark on Tucson.
Yeah, that's a finished Gila monster tail.
And speaking of desert creatures, no trip to Tucson is complete without visiting the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. A frequent elementary school field trip for me, it's home to hundreds of animals native to the Sonoran Desert. Like javelinas, those wild rascals that were always knocking over our trash cans growing up. And a brand new bouncing baby.
This is our porcupine pine cone who actually came to us from New York.
After weeks in quarantine, he's making his big debut with us. Honey, I'm bringing home a pet. But it was all just a warm-up for Klaus.
He's about as close to a flying puppy as you can get.
Okay.
So,
woman, 53, dies in hometown, felled by ferocious puppy owl. Klaus. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
so this is Klaus.
Hi, Klaus.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Okay, Klaus. Well, it was nice to meet you and everything. Okay. Bye.
Overcoming your fears.
Yes, you did fantastic. You did fantastic.
And speaking of girls gone wild, Tucson is also where I went to college. I can't believe it. I'm back. This is my alma mater, the University of Arizona. It's just as beautiful and sunny as it ever was. But I want to meet some real students of today.
No.
I know just where to go. Yeah? Mr.
Mr. President.
Hey,
Hi.
Savannah.
Yeah,
Great to see you. Just reading about you.
Oh my gosh, it is so good to be back in
Great
Tucson.
to see you. Welcome.
I'm a hugger. This is home.
That's fantastic.
Where-
We're so happy you're back.
Where are all the students?
You remember them all.
Yes.
Welcome home.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
I'm here, but where is everybody?
Welcome back home, Savannah.
I think this is my sorority house. I think this is the Pi-Fi house. I gotta go in. Hello? Anybody home? Hello? Yes. Oh, hi. Hi, I'm Savannah Guthrie. Pi-Fi, pledge class 90.
1 second. You might want to back up a little bit.
Back in my day, we just did the secret handshake. Now, they have a viral TikTok dance. You guys just won Best Pi-Fi Chapter in the country. That's what we used to do.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be a Pi-Fi and be part of this organization?
I find myself becoming a better version of who I am every single day that I'm in Pi-Fi. We have the most amazing emerging leaders, and I'm just so proud of all of them.
Wow, it's so fun to be back here. It's been a long, long time.
Actually, we did find something of yours, and we have a little surprise for you.
Okay. I remember this. This used to hang on the wall.
Yes, still does.
Big hair, don't care. Okay, let's see.
There
Here
you
I
are,
am.
yep.
Oh, yeah, there we are. That's my natural hair color. Guys, thank you so much for having me. I've had the best time. Should we do one more cheer before I go?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Bear down! But by far, my favorite part about Tucson is family. El Charro is the oldest family-owned Mexican restaurant in America and the perfect place to catch up with mine, my mom Nancy and sister Annie. I come here every time I come home to Tucson. I have to come to El Charro. How long has El Charro been here? 103 years. Carlota Flores has run El Charro for over 50 years, taking over from her great aunt Monica, the woman who's said to have invented the chimichanga. She treated us to a tradition from back in Prohibition when women playing cards would hide their tequila in teacups. Cheers. Cheers. I love being home. Don't drink the whole thing. Well, Mom, you guys came here in the 70s and you'd been moving all around. What made you want to stay in Tucson and plant roots?
And so wonderful. Just the air, the quality of life is laid back and gentle. Yeah, I like to watch the javelina eat my plants.
But the best thing about Tucson is coming home and
Yes.
seeing you guys. Should we raise a glass? Prickly pear margarita? Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you.
Love you.
From the love of family to the familiar beauty of the scenery, I will always be a daughter of the desert.
Daughter?
Oh, daughter.
Daughter of the desert.
That was like a movie.
Well, guys, I brought you a little something from Carlota Flores
so
and El
good.
Charro. This is the famous teacup. And the tequila, they would hide in it for Prohibition. And as my mother said, it's quite smooth. And she put in an order for the tequila. So,
oh wow!
Shall we just do a little
Cheers.
tiny
That is
sip?
real tequila.
It is.
For Nancy.
Little
That was so
Insolito.
fun to see your connection to Tucson. That's
Oh,
just
and
cool.
you spent some time there too.
I did. My grandparents lived in Tucson, and from LA, we would drive there in the early '80s,
Oh,
and I loved it. I saw my first electrical storm there.
Yes.
I'll never forget it. We went to Old Tucson, the theme park.
Yes.
It was so much fun.
They used to shoot westerns, and this like movie set.
Yeah.
A lot of the old westerns were shot in Tucson, and it's sometimes you have to leave a place to really appreciate
Yes.
it. And having lived on the East Coast now for many decades, when I go back, I'm so. It's like my whole soul is home, my spirit is home. I feel my father in the wind,
That's
the
nice.
desert, the cactus, the animals. It's such a unique place. It's a beautiful place to visit if you ever want to, and the weather is gorgeous right now. A little hot in the summer. Yeah.
Speaking of heart and home, are we going to your home?
Tomorrow, we're going to go, I'm gonna take you back to Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
You've
What's
never
up
been
with
there,
Columbia?
have
No,
you?
I'm dying to go.
All right. I caught up with my favorite tour guide, my brother Ryan.
Oh, he's the best.
So we reconnected.
My favorite Melvin.
With a lot of the special spots. A lot of the special spots that really shaped my life as well. So today, a little love letter to Tucson. Tomorrow, a little love letter to Columbia.
I love this
That's
series.
fantastic.
It is a great idea. I'm jealous that I couldn't do it. I want
Well,
to
we
show you
got
my
maybe
hometown.
we can expand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. go to everybody's home.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
All right, well, the next 24 hours could be critical. So what are investigators doing right now to find Nancy's abductor? Let's bring in Scott Duffy, retired FBI supervisory special agent at this moment. Scott, thanks for joining us this morning. You've been hearing this discussion in the morning, this morning before you've come on. Tell us what you think of the word celebrate in this very short message from last night.
Yeah, good morning to you. So celebration is everything that we use in the word in the sense of joy, happiness, being with your loved ones, celebrating holidays. So I agree with what Greg was saying, and with regards to the message has changed. What I like about the message, though, even though I do believe the family and law enforcement have additional information than we do, that they are more pointed and succinct in their messaging. In other words, they're raising the stakes on their side. It's raising the stakes on both sides. That's a volley of information. There was, hey, I'm not going to negotiate, to where all of a sudden they provided additional information. So there is openness to negotiation. And I think the Guthrie family is following the lead of law enforcement to say, okay, we're ready to pay. Maybe that wasn't clear before. And our mother is our loved one. We want her back in every which way. And let's move on past this. That's what I get.
The impression I got, I don't know, Charlie and Griff, if you guys feel the same. The impression I got from our last guest is that he was very reluctant to say it, but he doesn't feel very hopeful that she's alive. And he did not say that, but that was the impression I got. Is that your impression?
Yeah, and I started to, I agree with, law enforcement is very honest with family. And behind the scenes, they're saying, hey, a violent act was done here to take your mother. It's a violent act. We don't know what the evidence was inside that law enforcement indicated. We know of the blood outside. But hope is eternal. And so thereby, both law enforcement and family, until they know otherwise, they're operating and should be operating that she is still alive. Ransom is being asked. And let's continue to use negotiations to get her back, or to at least have proof of life. Proof of life is standard in a ransom of a kidnap for ransom. Right. And so thereby they're saying, show us the proof.
Yeah, and they've not done so far, Scott, and that's troubling. Let me talk to you a little bit about the clock is ticking. We know that the deadline, that next deadline, the more consequential deadline, is tomorrow. And as the FBI has seemed to sort of take the lead here, even though they say they're cooperating, they seem to really be taking the lead, as they should, because this is what you guys do. Talk to me about where you think the FBI is in their pursuit to identify the abductors. It seems that these abductors may have been known to her, the way this transpired. 40 minutes inside the home. You know, if they didn't know her and they were professional abductors, it would appear that would have been a much faster removal and abduction. But where do you think the FBI is in their pursuit to identify who has taken her?
That is priority number one, right along with return Ms. Guthrie alive. So I believe the FBI is doing everything. They're sending out people to collect cameras from residential and businesses. They took this vehicle, right? My thought was, okay, they took this vehicle subsequent to this secondary communication by at least what we believe to be the abductors. Is it possible that something was inside this letter to indicate, for example, hey, we have been surveilling her. So thereby, was there a tracker on her car? Did somebody get something onto this car and thereby remove that tracker? And so law enforcement is like, let's take that car. Is it possible that they learned that the abductors came in through the garage? Because we have heard information, maybe or maybe not, there is forced entry. And so thereby, would they have brushed up against this car? Did they give any indication that they were inside the garage? And thereby, okay, let's take the car. They want fingerprints, they want DNA. fingerprint, perhaps if this person had been locked up before, there's going to be an immediate identification. If there's DNA that they believe is foreign to that house, not to the family or workers, thereby let's identify somebody so we can start surveilling a potential location. That's what they're doing. They want to identify who this is so they can start to surveil them and try to get onto them and make an arrest and a recovery of Miss Guthrie alive.
So there's been a lot of talk the last couple of days about the fact that police and FBI had to go back to the scene to reprocess parts of the scene, and a lot of suggestions that mistakes have been made. From your vantage point, do you think that there have been mistakes that have been made thus far?
I would say there are mistakes made in every investigation. We just don't see it on a basis like this, right? Because the media is involved as well as they should be. However, I don't believe they're fatal mistakes. These are it's not like they've lost something. Ultimately, they are trying to identify, as you said earlier, they are trying to identify her so they can, or identify the abductors so they can have a location to go, start surveilling, conduct an investigation, and try to make an arrest as well as a recovery of Miss Guthrie alive. And so, yes, of course, there are mistakes, but at the same time, this is a very large piece of property. And so if something was in one of those letters to indicate they were in a particular room or touched something, then perhaps they're going back on a regular basis to say, we have something additional to recover.
But one of the reasons that the media is so involved is because we know the location of the home, we know the location of the daughter's home. Is it possible? How do we know that there aren't other locations out there that the FBI is surveilling or that they have identified that might be being processed right now that we just don't know about?
Yeah, I would assume that there are additional things happening behind the scenes that the rest of the public is not aware of. And is it possible also that we, for example, we have legal attaché offices around the world. With regards to this server, is there some location outside the country that has been identified, a company, a third party, and so thereby the FBI engaging with their partners to say, we need your help and we need your help right now. And so thereby there could be outside the United States searches taking place.
Scott, quickly, I want to ask you, because you well know that tips play a big role in investigations like this. We have had the 1-800-CALL-FBI tip line up on our screen around the clock now for days, but the FBI has offered $50,000. Is it time to increase that?
Yeah, $50,000 is a lot of money, but at the same time, if they felt, hey, we're going to have to increase the money here, more than likely for not reaching to somebody who is just going to be a tipster, but perhaps somebody who may be on the inside of this, that this might be a circle of people. In other words, you may have one or more abductors, but then you have additional people that may know something and are just keeping quiet. So thereby a lot of money could incite that type of tip.
But is $50,000 enough? I mean, if you were somehow tangentially connected to this, you know, you're thinking 50 grand as opposed to, say, if you had $250,000, it really might make someone think twice.
Yeah, I would imagine the FBI is discussing that with the family. They also may have additional pieces of information as to what exactly or who exactly they are pursuing. So I can tell you in a standard FBI investigation or a standard large investigation that may not have media attention, but looking for tipsters, you may have $5,000, $10,000, which might be your standard. So $50,000 is a good starting point, but I see it going up.
All right. Well, Scott Duffy, we really appreciate you coming on this morning.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
You're watching a 13 News special report. The search for Nancy Guthrie.
The scene that we're processing is at the residence of Mrs. Guthrie, and it's just there's some things there that are of concern to us.
A community on alert for a missing woman, the mother of a celebrity.
They've asked all of us to look through our
our yards, our neighborhoods, our brush.
We believe now, after we process that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime.
Evidence of an abduction with a demand for ransom.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
Local support in a national spotlight.
It's to show that we are still hopeful, and I do believe in the power of prayer.
A race against time in the search for Nancy Guthrie.
This is an 84-year-old grandma that needs vital medication for her well-being. You still have the time to do the right thing.
Good evening, I'm Dan Maries.
And I'm Brooke Wagner. Welcome to a 13 News special report, The Search for Nancy Guthrie. It has been 6 days now since someone abducted the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. The case has stunned the Tucson community and captured national attention.
Today, 13 News received a new message regarding Nancy Guthrie. And just like the ransom note we got on Monday, we immediately sent it to law enforcement. A statement released today from the Sheriff's Department after getting our note, it says in part, quote, the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department are aware of a new message regarding Nancy Guthrie. Investigators are actually inspecting the information provided in the message for its authenticity.
The latest timeline from investigators suggests Nancy Guthrie was abducted early Sunday morning from her home in a Foothills neighborhood near Campbell Avenue, south of Skyline Drive.
And investigators have returned to the Guthrie home multiple times this week, including again this evening. Lab tests show blood splatters found on a porch at the home belonged to Nancy Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff has said there are still no suspects at this time.
Let's take a look at the timeline investigators have been working from and that they've shared with us. Let's start at 5:32 on January 31st. This is when Nancy Guthrie goes to her local family member's home to have dinner and play some games. Then at 9:48, we're told the family dropped Guthrie off at her home. That's when the garage door opened. Then at 9:50 p.m., we could tell that the garage door closed. So we head on over to February 1st, the next day, very early in the morning, 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. Then at 2:12 a.m., that software from the camera detects a person on the camera. We do not have that footage. We're told that it cannot be retrieved because she didn't have a subscription to it. At 2:28 a.m., the pacemaker app for Nancy Guthrie shows a disconnection from her phone app. And then about 11 a.m., a friend calls the family because Nancy Guthrie did not show up for church. So then at 11:56 a.m., the family went to the home to check on Guthrie. And then about 7 minutes later at 12:03 p.m., they called 911 and then they called on to PCSD from there. At 12:15, the patrol arrived at Nancy Guthrie's home.
The 13 News reporter Catherine Patterson joining us live near Guthrie's home in the Catalina foothills, where investigators return this evening to continue their work. Catherine, is the scene still active?
Yeah, hey, Dan, if you've been following our coverage on this over the past few days, you'll notice that the scene behind me looks very different than what you may be used to. And that's because for the first time since this investigation started, news crews have been pushed out away from Nancy Guthrie's residence. Deputies told me that it's because they want the family to have some space right now. The only people that are being let in right now are residents that live in the homes that are blocked off by deputies right now. But we did get a bird's eye view of the scene that you can take a look at now. We heard reports of police officers or law enforcement putting markers down, evidence markers on the property, and even law enforcement getting on the roof of the Guthrie home. But the new limits for crews out here has made it even more difficult to know what investigators are doing right now. We received a tip from one of the neighbors around here that FBI agents and deputies would be returning to the area to search through homes, and that's exactly what we've been seeing from beyond the barricade. The Catalina Foothills Neighborhood Association let those residents know that the searches would primarily be in the areas west of Campbell. The Neighborhood Association was reminding neighbors that even on the 5th day of this investigation to share any security camera footage that they may have around the area, but we will be staying on scene and keeping you guys updated both on air and online for any additional information that we may get. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you for your work on that, Catherine. And 13 News reporter Renee Romo has been covering the search for Nancy Guthrie from the beginning. She joins us live from Pima County Sheriff's Department headquarters in Tucson.
And we mentioned earlier that investigators are looking at a new message in the Nancy Guthrie case, one we received at 13 News. What are they saying down there?
That's right, Dan. Today at approximately 11:45 a.m., 13 News received a new message via our news tips email portal that could be connected to the Guthrie case. Now, as you mentioned, we forwarded that email to law enforcement, and the FBI has announced they are now investigating it. Now, I had the chance to ask Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos about this latest development. Take a look. We obviously just got a statement joined from PCSD and the FBI about this most recent tip that we received via email. Do you have anything to say on that?
No, not at all. It's again given to the FBI. They've got this, and we'll let them go.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Now, we are not releasing specific details out of respect for the family, but we can say we sent the IP address where the note came from to law enforcement. It is not the same IP address, but it appears the sender used the same type of secure server to hide their IP address. The new note contains something the senders seem to think will prove to investigators they're the same people who sent the first note. This is now the second alleged communication related to the Guthrie case that 13 News has received via our news tips portal.
Renee, just an unimaginable week for the Guthrie family. Difficult one for her community, for the Tucson community. What have you been seeing as you've been covering this story?
Well, Brooke, whether we were here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department or outside of Nancy Guthrie's home, of course, as you mentioned, we have seen national attention here, and the amount of media from all across the country, all across the world, have come here for this disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. But at the same time, as you mentioned, the community, I was able to attend a Wednesday night candlelight service in honor of her to send the prayers, because that is what the family has asked for, and that is what the community did. Over 500 people were estimated to come out, whether they knew Nancy Guthrie or the Guthrie family at all. They wanted to be sure to show their support and send their prayers up and stay hopeful that one day Nancy Guthrie will come home.
But most importantly, we want to support the Guthrie family and do whatever we can to find Miss Guthrie.
88 Crime has played a role in this case since the beginning.
Mary Coleman has been looking into their efforts and the investigative tips they've been able to collect so far. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Brooke and Dan. Yeah, well, you've heard us tell you about 88 Crime almost daily, and now it's being really put to the test with Nancy Guthrie's abduction. It has helped solve so many other crimes, with the hope it can do the same in this case. We have been in constant contact with 88 Crime. That's the group responsible for receiving tips in our community, and the draw is that people can submit those tips anonymously. And they have been inundated with tips following the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. I spoke with the chief of detectives who runs 88 Crime, and he tells me they'd already been receiving hundreds of tips. But after yesterday's press conference with Sheriff Nanos and the FBI, the number spiked, setting a record.
National and even international level has grabbed a lot of attention.
Fabian Pacheco is no stranger to being thrust into the national spotlight, having handled many high-profile cases over the years in southern Arizona during his time with Tucson Police and the Pima County Attorney's Office. And this week has been a busy one for 88 Crime as tips pour in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Since the announcement of her disappearance, 88 Crime has surpassed 500 tips, the most they've seen for one case in the history of the program.
We work closely with all our surrounding law enforcement agencies and provide them with the tips as they come in. It's absolutely critical, especially in this case, that those tips get to those investigators, those detectives that have been working tirelessly on this case.
The draw to 88 Crime for many is the promise of anonymity, something that has taken center stage in this case with the anonymous ransom note sent out and another anonymous message sent today.
We always worry and have to be cautious in these types of very high-profile cases that it doesn't get sidetracked through other reasons, whether legitimate or not. We want folks that are still out in the community, even if it's here in Pima County or maybe across the country, they may have some information that could help detectives point them in the right direction that they need to go to work on this case.
At the end of the day, the mission is the same: finding Nancy.
It is times like this that really we appreciate the value of what 8-8 Crime represents and what all the people that support 8-8 Crime do. And I know there's some folks that might have some information out there they feel, well, you know, I don't want to bother them with this tidbit. It's probably nothing or this and that. Well, no, we need to continue to receive those tips because we don't know. That could be the break in the case.
If you have any information on this case, please reach out to 8-8 Crime or the FBI. Both agencies are gathering as many pieces of information that they can. We want to continue to remind you the Pima County Sheriff's Department is asking for any and all information you might have on Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. If you have photos or video evidence, you can use the QR code on your screen right here to submit it. You can also call PCSD with your tips. That number is on your screen. It is 520-351-4900. We have all of this information up on our website, KOLD.com.
Thank you, Mary. As Renee mentioned, 13 News was one of the media outlets to receive the ransom message now being treated seriously by investigators. We received it and sent it to law enforcement immediately on Monday night. Then on Tuesday, other news outlets received a note now confirmed to be the same one. The FBI disclosed some, but not all of its contents. Here's a portion of the email. The FBI confirmed that it said the first deadline given was before 5 p.m. on Thursday the 5th. That was yesterday. The FBI also confirmed that if that deadline was not reached, a second was given. The message we received referred to a deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m. The note also references details that were not made public at the time, like Nancy's white smartwatch. The FBI also confirmed that the ransom note refers to a white floodlight in the backyard of the Guthrie home. Investigators still have not named a person or interest of suspect in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The FBI also says there has been no proof of life and no confirmed follow-up communication, despite videos posted by the Guthrie family asking the abductor or abductors to contact them.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you and we are waiting for contact.
The latest video from the Guthrie family was from Cameron there, Nancy Guthrie's son, Savannah's brother. That was posted yesterday, a day after Savannah Guthrie made a similar plea.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please, reach out to us.
This evening, we are hearing from a criminologist who thinks it's likely more than one person is involved with Nancy Guthrie's abduction.
It's not impossible for them to be the same person, but generally you are going to have at least one person to abduct her, somebody to drive the car, somebody to be in charge of the communications, somebody who knows how to get that Bitcoin transferred is usually not the same person who muscles an 84-year-old lady into a car.
The next deadline on that note from Monday, the FBI says it has been speaking with the Guthrie family, but that decision and how to proceed rests with the family.
I had the chance to sit down for a one-on-one interview with Sheriff Nanos about the search for Nancy Guthrie. One of the things we discussed, clues in cyberspace. Whether we're talking about a ransom note or crucial evidence, technology has changed the game of solving a complex case like this.
It's technology that's going to really help us solve this case.
When Sheriff Nanos started his career, DNA was the groundbreaker. Today, cell phone pings, apps that track our daily movements, and especially video, have multiplied the cache of clues.
They now have tools and resources that were well beyond what we had when I was in homicide. But the game is the same.
But the sheriff tells me that tech is not one size fits all. The Guthrie case has its own challenges, including the rustic landscape of Catalina foothills.
Some of the neighborhoods we have around here are little cookie cutter houses, ring bells everywhere. Streets are clear and clean and you can see it. This neighborhood's different, and it's not much different than a lot of our neighborhoods. Very thick vegetation, nice homes sitting back on acreage of lots. So those ring cameras, though they exist, may not capture exactly what we're hoping for. But that's an environment we've worked in forever. It's a challenge. We'll find a way around it. We'll work through that. There's other ways to solve this case, and I have complete faith that my team will do that.
13 News reporter Sean Mahoney explains more of the specifics on the tech being used in the Guthrie case at KOLD.com.
The abduction of Nancy Guthrie has brought back painful memories for a family who dealt with a similar nightmare 24 years ago.
You might remember the case of Elizabeth Smart, who was 14 when she was kidnapped in Salt Lake City, Utah. Thankfully, she was found alive 9 months later and her captor arrested. Law enforcement frequently works first to clear those closest to the victim. In the Smart case, that included Elizabeth's father, Ed, who now lives in Tucson.
Today, Ed Smart reflected on the impact of being the focus of a police investigating a case with a national profile.
You know, to be accused of my daughter's abduction was something that just seemed so outrageous and unbelievable. Yet, you know, as time goes on, you learn that, you know, the family is unfortunately the first area that law enforcement have to check off and clear. And that didn't happen for days in our family situation, and certainly we wanted to do everything that we could to work with law enforcement to clear ourselves so that their focus could be on something else instead of something we knew wasn't part of us.
The Pima County Sheriff has said that investigators have no suspects in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance and that everyone is being looked at.
Logan, thanks so much for joining us. What is your reaction to news that the family is willing to pay a ransom to get 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie back?
It doesn't surprise me at all. If I was hired on the case, I would be advising them to do that. This whole thing doesn't make any sense. Whoever's done this is doing everything that you don't do in a kidnapping. It's just, the back door was wide open. The front door is where there were blood drops on like the porch area, but they didn't go any further. There was no trail of where they went to. And they towed away the sister's car, and I heard that there's a suspect in the brother-in-law. I said from the very beginning, somebody close to the family has to be involved in this. They knew too much about the house, about everything. The wiring on the roof could have been a listening device in the house. They got her, if they came in the back, I don't know why the back door was wide open. They must have left from the front where the blood was, but the back door was wide open and the cameras were smashed. They weren't just removed, they were smashed. So they waited 72 hours for the ransom note. That's not what you do. The ransom note usually comes really quick. And there's some reason why they're not supplying any proof of life. Like I said yesterday, maybe that's because they haven't figured it out yet. And they don't know how to respond to the family and talk to them without it being traced back to the kidnappers. There's just so much that doesn't make sense and why they're doing it. Nobody's going to get paid on a kidnapping if you don't have communication with the family of the kidnapped person. Nobody's going to pay without proof of life. And everybody knows that because of AI, proof of life can be really screwed around with. So they've got to get a direct conversation going with Nancy and ask her questions that proves that is Nancy. Another weird thing is why they released the house so fast. The police did. Now the sheriff, technically the sheriff would be in charge of this. The FBI doesn't come in and like a bull in a china closet and say, hey, we're taking over. The sheriff would be in charge. However, the sheriff was caught off guard with this new video that they put out. So I'm trying to figure out if the feds are guiding them on what to do, or a private detective. I've been called in on many kidnappings when the police were working on the kidnapping, and I spent more time with the family than the police did. There's just so much that is weird about what they've done and how they're continuing this thing.
Logan, can I ask you, if the family is willing to pay the ransom, does that tell you that they have some sort of proof of life?
No, I don't believe they have proof of life. They're just telling them that we're willing to pay the ransom. If they had proof of life, it's possible that they do. Again, like I said, the feds could be playing the kidnappers, but this is going along it's going so long without any communications, without any negotiations, and it's just not making sense. There's only two reasons you do a kidnapping. It's money or revenge. So I don't know who would have revenge on them unless it's something that's that Guthrie did. Maybe in her work or something that somebody's pissed off about. But in the news, the letters that they're sending to the news, that's not what you do. These guys are doing everything you don't do. And how did they get her, downstairs when she can't walk 50 feet or, 100 feet by herself? So you got to get her downstairs. Maybe they rang the doorbell to get her to come downstairs on her own and then went out the back door. But why would there be blood in the front? There's just so many things that don't make sense. Usually these things follow a certain pattern. All kidnappings kind of follow a certain pattern. And these guys are not doing anything that makes sense. And if it's for revenge.
And here now is Paul Moore, retired NYPD inspector, Fox News contributor. Paul, I want to play the video released by the Guthrie family again for those who may have missed it. Let's watch.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
What is your reaction to that latest video?
Yeah, look, I'm just seeing it like everybody else. I just read it. So let's look at it very closely, the way Ted Williams did. I think where it gets most troubling is when you go near the end. So let me just tease it out similar to the way Ted just did. We received your message and we understand. That feels to me like there's something new. And one of the things we've all been talking about is, have they established a protocol to speak to each other? This sounds like they got something that is different from the note, the second note, that none of us were really sure was the same people originating in the same place as the first note that the authorities were taking seriously. Now, one of the points I've been making is that if the second note were from the same people, I think they would have included, once again, the crypto wallet. It's not definite, but that would have very much been a proof that it was the same people, because that's a long, unguessable number. And first of all, it goes to the fact that they want to be paid. So I would think it would have been in the second note, not definitive, but perhaps. This feels to me like it's something new. And therefore, I have to think that they did establish some way to talk to each other, one way or the other. That could be good news for the investigation, because you have something else to work on. Let's go on real quick. We beg you to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. Celebrate what? That feels to me like a euphemism, right? Celebrate her life, something like that. Also, return our mother to us. Let's look at not so much what's being said as what's not being said. If this note had said something like, okay, we're glad we've had a meeting of the minds, let's set up the exchange. would it not have very, very different verbiage? Would it not have said something like, thank you for getting in touch with us. We're ready to move forward, waiting further instructions, things like that. In fact, I would argue there would be nothing public, right? Further, if there were a good protocol to talk to each other, she wouldn't be making a video.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's sending this out for them to hear this, right? And let me just close the loop. This is the only way we can have peace. To me, that is the most troubling line. Peace, not we can't wait to see her, this is great kind of thing. Peace, when do you talk about peace? You talk about peace when you're talking about closure, right? And then finally, this is very valuable to us. Well, of course your mother is valuable to you if she's alive. That, by negative inference, to say she's valuable, to have to say something is valuable, that tells me that it's something you might not normally think has value, and that goes to the idea that we want her, I'm just going to be frank here, man.
Yeah.
You're asking me, I'm telling you, her body.
Yeah. No,
Right?
and I think a part of that was
so-
the next line. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, the fact that they're saying, and will pay.
Exactly.
Well, will pay has been there all along.
Exactly.
And the fact that they'll say, so what are you doing now? You're saying, we're going to pay for something that maybe had less value than it had yesterday.
Yeah.
So just as an investigator, I'm telling you, piecing this thing apart, I hope I'm wrong. You know, I think that's clear, but I don't think it's a positive sign.
Paul, I just got one question for you. You alluded to this, that they're communicating back to whoever has her mother with an Instagram post as opposed to through some sort of channel that's established. I would imagine they're speaking with law enforcement and coordinating this with them. Would you say the same thing, basically, that law enforcement supports them putting this video out there this way?
100%. We all know that when they did the first initial response, that we saw law enforcement going in with a ring light. And in fact, you know, when I got that report, I was asked, what do you think? And my first blush was, okay, they're going in with a camera and lighting. Maybe they're going to film a search warrant here so that if they get some incriminating evidence or something, they can demonstrate how they got it. You do things like that. You film locations. But when I heard a ring light, well, we all know what a ring light is, right? That's what people use to make selfies, and, you know, they put the videos on TikTok and all of that. So when I heard that, I began to think, all right, social media, and that was, in fact, the FBI going there, and they did confirm that they were there when that first video was made. I don't know about the second one that Cameron made after the first deadline passed, but certainly the first one, they were there. And at the press conference, they pretty much confirmed that. So let me go yes on that, Joey.
And Paul, I guess we'll also remember here that the next deadline that was previously established was to come on Monday at some point. I don't believe that there was a time period. But of course, today is Saturday, 1 week set that Nancy Guthrie has been missing. You know, so 2 days out from that next deadline, does that help you understand? You know, you walked through the possible interpretations of this last message. Does that add, you know, any, to me, I feel like maybe that's some more optimism. It's before the last deadline that they're still communicating and offering, you know, trying to set up some type of indication that they're willing to pay.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so, certainly. And I could be wrong. It's just so cryptically worded. And you're not going to, if it looked like, okay, we got a message, we've had a proof of life, you're not going to be cryptic. You know, it's going to be real direct. You know, the only thing that she really says that is really sort of straightforward is we will pay. But that's been there all along, I would argue. So, you know, I hope I'm not taking the wrong messages away from that, because we all hope that she's alive. But this feels to me like they got some new piece of information where almost as if they said something like this, an accident occurred. This didn't go the way we expected. Yeah. You know, we know she had a heart condition, right? Something like that. And like you say, we're before the deadline. So would they not be saying things like, you know, before the deadline occurs? And I've heard disparate reporting on the deadline. My understanding is that the best sourcing from the authorities was that it was going to be 5 o'clock again on Monday, Arizona time. And that might be an inference, the Arizona time piece. But yeah, because we're before the deadline, It would have felt to me more like a negotiation than it does.
Wow. All right, Paul, thank you so much. Please stick around. We always appreciate your insight.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
Developing news overnight in the search for Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy. The family posting a new video overnight with a plea for her safe return.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
It is just such a heartbreaking video, and we have new details here. They're also emerging about the investigation. Former FBI agent Brad Garrett will join us in a moment here, but first, ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is live in Tucson for us. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning, Gio. That new anguished message from Savannah Guthrie is difficult to watch. It is short and pointed. The family promises to pay to get their mother back. This morning, 1 week after police say Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her home in the dark of night, her children are grasping for some way to get their mother returned. Savannah and her siblings clutching hands in that Instagram post that begs, bring her home.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Law enforcement sources told ABC News the message is the same one received Friday by a Tucson television station. The FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department said they had been analyzing it, but the sources said they have not determined its authenticity. An earlier, also unverified message included a deadline of tomorrow.
While we advise and recommend from a law enforcement perspective, any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family.
Savannah's gut-wrenching plea came at the end of the day with no new investigative leads. Hours later, officers seen leaving her sister Annie's home, but still there are no suspects, no video, and no proof the 84-year-old in fragile health is alive. It has been a week since she failed to show up at church and her family reported her missing. Nancy Guthrie, who appeared with Savannah from time to time on the Today Show, now appears on billboards.